Hello and welcome to this webinar. My name is Robbie from Catapult, and with me I've got our Chief Creative Officer Phil Higgins and our project producer Jonathan Bonner. We've got a really exciting announcement today that we wanted to share with everyone who's attending the Blue Loop Expo right now. You're probably watching it in our sponsored brands and IP lounge. And it's to announce a new dark ride experience concept that we've created alongside SimWorks called Torchlight. So Torchlight is a gripping new horror dark ride experience designed by Catapult in collaboration with simulator ride manufacturer SimWorks. Torchlight's Search of the Forest will transport guests to a mysterious woodland where they are put in charge of finding out what has happened to dozens of missing people. The question is who or what is responsible? Phil, this is a real turnkey, scalable opportunity and a brilliantly thought through concept. What is really exciting, though, is that this has come out of a new collaboration project. What's brought Catapult and SimWorks together on this particular project?
Thanks, Robbie. So we've known SimWorks for years in the industry. We've worked with them. We're currently working on a ride in Kuwait with the Cartoon Network FEC that's currently been developed. And we've known them personally. They're literally just down the road from us, so a fellow kind of UK sort of company within the sort of leisure and attractions industry. Through the relationship, we saw them launch their new ABG ride system, I think last November at IAPA, and it caught our attention. And creatively, we're always trying to find new technology, new rides, new ways, mechanisms to kind of tell stories and world build and create experiences. So it caught our attention, and instantly we reached out to SimWorks and found out a little bit more about the ride and its capabilities. And it was interesting, to see what we could do and how it could help us sort of build and create something, a unique experience.
Brilliant. And Jonathan, the AGV technology by SimWorks, it almost provides almost an unlimited amount of options to create a new dark ride experience. What is it about the Torchlight concept that Catapult have worked on that makes it a greater opportunity?
Yeah, like Phil says, when we saw the AGV and what it was capable of, it really caught our eye. And the first thing we did was kind of figure out more about it, what it actually can do, and go through those features and the various things that might be able to be applied to a new story. So the first thing, the 3 degrees motion base, really impressive acceleration, its rotational speed, its omnidirectional capabilities, all these fantastic trackless capabilities. The first thing we did was start to think about, well, what kind of stories could be applied to this technology and how that might be transferred into an attraction experience that's unique. Two of the words that initially came to mind were that of pursuit. So the intense acceleration that this vehicle and this system's capable of kind of induces the idea that you're being pursued or you could be pursuing something else. That kind of led us down some paths there. And also that of disorientation as well. So the kind of omnidirectional capabilities. The beautiful thing about these kind of trackless dark rides is you don't know where they're going to go next. And I think that makes for some exciting story opportunities as well. So that kind of thinking. Also, at the same time, we were looking at what else is out there in terms of trackless ride technology and those kind of experiences. Obviously, there's some incredible ones out there right now. Some of the best rides in the world at theme parks are trackless. I think we all know some examples. But we're looking for some potential gaps as well in the market in terms of stories and things like that. And our research, along with what the vehicle is capable of, kind of led us down the path of maybe an intense, psychological, scary kind of horror experience, essentially. And that was where the genesis of our thinking on Torchlight began.
And so tell us more about the Torchlight, the narrative and the concept then. From what you've said just about it being a thriller, and probably more towards an older demographic, rather than for children. It seems to be fitting that we're talking about sort of a horror experience around Halloween. Why did Catapult decide on this narrative, though?
Again, I think just the kind of gap we saw for this kind of experience on a trackless vehicle and the kind of opportunities for storytelling that could afford us. Images here. Without giving too much away at the moment, the idea is it's set at Shadow Pines National Park. It's a pretty spooky looking forest, as you can see, kind of dark and foreboding. Very famous for disappearances and missing people. And also it's rife with urban legends about some kind of dark presence in the forest, mostly dismissed by people, except a few kind of superstitious locals. But the role that guests take in this experience is their volunteers joining a kind of larger search party that are going out into the forest to try and recover the latest batch of missing people who've gone out there and haven't returned. And that's kind of where the story starts. And again, that was what we thought was kind of a nice, good horror setup.
Brilliant. And Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, but it isn't just the concept that we've worked on. The studio have been busy working on queue line experience, the whole guest experience, even the photo opportunity. What are just some of the additional bits and pieces that you've done to sort of support this concept and make it a scalable opportunity for any operator?
Well, essentially, we've kind of created a concept pack, and that's everything from the narrative, the almost creating a brand and potential IP, in terms of that world and experience that we've designed and sort of come up with. But alongside that, we've done the whole kind of pack, so everything from a kind of scalable modular ride layout, the kind of ride vehicle design itself. We've looked at queue line experience. We've looked at the photo opportunity, as you said. We've got narrative in terms of the pre-show. The whole kind of package is there, and the idea is that from to kind of launch this as we are now, and I think as you come on to, we're going to be kind of releasing some more detail about the work that we've done in terms of the creative process, but. The idea is that it's a scalable opportunity, and it's something that can fit within the market, and hence the kind of the research we've done in terms of seeking out that market opportunity. But yeah, so we've had fun kind of taking the story which kind of Jonathan explained there, and weaving in some exciting kind of touch points throughout the guest experience, everything from the pre-show where you as a guest, you're kind of invited to join the search party where you're kind of presented by the local ranger who's kind of onboarding you to kind of be the recruit to kind of tool you up and explain which areas in the Shadow Pines forest you're going to go and where the last sightings were and things. Through to how the story develops and the turmoil comes and some of those kind of scare moments and that kind of that disorientation throughout the ride, and ultimately we've kind of weaved in the kind of almost like a Black Mirror moment, that kind of mic drop kind of shock twist at the end. I don't know if I should say it or not, but maybe we'll hold that back, and you'll have to wait and see what that moment is. But it's kind of a big shock, a big surprise, but kind of an eye opener, and kind of wraps the storyline up and makes you think, oh my god, I kind of need to go and experience that again. And next time you experience it, it might be slightly different. So.
I think just to add to that as well, it kind of ties into our thinking when we're approaching an attraction, that the story kind of expands and begins long before you step foot in any kind of ride vehicle. So it's using that time you're stood in a queue to really set up a story, and kind of, I guess, set the tone of what's to come as well, and build the anticipation. And then, as Phil said, it's kind of some fun surprises that kind of get you thinking about it afterwards, and and wanting to do it again.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And Phil, just to pick up on something you said about referencing Black Mirror, there is a trend in terms of the TV shows that we're streaming or watching that are that psychological thriller. So I know the team have done a lot of work around audience demographics and trying to fit this ride into what is now a trend for thrilling rides that kind of mess with the mind, as well as sort of from a physical sphere as well. I guess that was really important to do something that was on trend, but also would still be very popular as a genre in a few years' time.
Absolutely, and it's interesting looking at the ride itself, and it is pitched as kind of this kind of scary thrill ride. But the interesting thing about the ride system is that actually it's quite accessible. So in terms of kind of putting an age bracket on this, it's more through the content and the nature of the storytelling and the kind of the potential kind of scariness of it. Which is quite kind of interesting because it has that kind of aspirational, kids want to ride it, but they're not actually limited by height restrictions and all that sort of thing. But as you know, Robbie, any project we do, we before we do any creative and before we start thinking about the experience, we deep dive into research and insights and audience demographic and something like this, seeking out what that kind of niche opportunity is important to look at popular culture references, everything from what people are watching, what people want to watch, what people are playing, and kind of understanding that world, so that it's absolutely what people want to be experiencing, but also it's kind of exceeding their expectations as well, and it's got those hence the kind of shock moments and some of those kind of special kind of golden nuggets throughout the guest experience.
I think just quickly what you just said there, Phil, about the target audience and different mediums that have inspired us. You mentioned what people are playing. I think video games as a medium have inspired this quite a lot. There's a lot of gaming nerds at Catapult, I think ourselves included. And we looked at games like The Last of Us and the more recent Resident Evil games and even Blair Witch, those kind of real intense kind of psychological, Last of Us isn't so much horror, but a lot of them are horror experiences. And I think as a medium as well, video games are very active rather than passive. It's not like TV or film. You're actually exploring that as a character and environment. And also as a medium, we also think they're really good at telling environmental stories the same way that our medium as themed environments does too, and how characters can be explained or shown just through prop placement in an environment as you walk through a queue, for instance. Without actually ever meeting that character, you can learn more about them. So that kind of thinking from video games also influenced how this was designed as well.
Right, so Phil, one of the things you mentioned earlier on was about this concept being modular in design. So the experience being able to fit a certain size, a certain scale, a certain budget of operators or attractions that might want to take it on. So it's not just a concept. There is a rationale behind how this could work from a practical point of view.
Absolutely, and I think it's important. Yes, the creative, the narrative, we're very good at that, and we can come up with a great concept, but that needs to be founded on actual considerations to make this a workable concept and something which could be and hopefully will be sold into the market. And that is about understanding a theme park and an operator's needs and requirements of throughputs, budget, size, scale. Hence why we've made it modular. It's kind of almost there's a baseline of what the ride consists of, but we can kind of bolt and move around aspects of this, which kind of makes it more scalable than a normal kind of ride. But also understanding, working with SimWorks in terms of how we can really kind of hone in and kind of create something which kind of works in terms of the throughput and in terms of the size and scale and the footprint that's needed on site.
And Jonathan, what's your thoughts from that point of view?
No, I mean, completely agree with Phil. It's you know, it's a blue sky, and we've started, you know, we've gone a story from scratch, and what might be really fun, what would be really cool from a innovation point of view, what hasn't been seen in dark rides before, that kind of thing. But yeah, you're always working firstly to make the best use of the technology available. In this case, it's what the ride system is capable of doing, and how to make the most use of that. But then, yeah, also realistically, what is going to be required from a theme park's point of view, from ops? You know, how many people do they need to churn through this thing every hour? How long does the experience need to be? How big should the queue be? What footprint do they have available? So, I mean, as a producer, I quite like those rules that we can kind of guide the creative team on. It's not just the kind of creative, wild, wonderful thinking. It's that, but also with elements of practicality. And yeah, it's the balance between technology and kind of client, from my point of view.
Fantastic. That's really good stuff. Well, thank you, both of you, for your time. Thank you to those who are watching this now, whether you're watching it live or on demand on Blue Loop's website. Catapult will be releasing further details about this over the coming weeks. We'll be dropping a link into the chat pane below. So sign up. We'll be sharing exclusive access to the series of videos where we go into our presentation and the concepts and the narrative a little bit further. Once again, thank you for your time, and see you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.